Q&A COVID-19 campus closures session. And if you guys just want to go around and introduce who you are, thank you for joining us today.
I'm Jeremy Spriggs. I'm a student senator, and I'm here to help Shelby out with asking the questions.
I'm Beth Eckelkamp, Associate Provost for Student Success. I had an opportunity to meet with almost all of you a few weeks ago to have a conversation about student success. I'm really appreciative of the opportunity to meet with you again today.
Hi, I'm Keita Holmes, and I'm the director of our Center for Teaching and Learning, a unit within Academic Affairs at UMSL, and I'm pleased to be here today, and thank you for the opportunity to meet with you and the other senators today.
I'm Natisha Small, Assistant Provost for Access and Academic Support. I have met some of you, so it's great to see your faces and looking forward to the discussion today.
Hello, I am DeAndre Braddix. I'm the Associate Vice Provost for Student Affairs, and I'm joining you today for the second time following our, excuse me, our Q&A with student government, I believe on March 13th, regarding the university's response to COVID-19.
And I'm Shelby Long, a SGA senator, and I think we're going to go ahead and get started with the first question. So the first question that our student body has asked is, what is UMSL's plan with regards to refunding the students?
So if this question relates to student housing, we are actually in the process of reimbursing students for housing. So the decision was made that students needed to vacate housing if they could on March 22nd. And since that time, we have been working on figuring out how to best issue refunds, both for meal plans, but then also for the students' physical housing space. And so those actually have been sent to cashiers. And so we hope that students will see those in their accounts starting next week.
Thank you, DeAndre.
And our second question is, are students going to receive tuition reimbursements for in-person classes transitioning to online platforms?
I'm happy to try to answer that question for you. Actually, under normal circumstances, the online classes are more expensive than the in-person classes. So there are online fees, as many of you know, that are attached to courses that are taught online. Because of the cost of the supports, the training, the preparation that we ask faculty to go through to teach online. So when we transitioned the face-to-face classes to online, we were very careful not to assess those online fees to students because students had not signed up, had not chosen to take a class that was being offered online. And additionally, the faculty members may not have gone through that extensive training that we normally ask faculty to go through before they teach online. So that online fee was definitely not assessed to students during that transition. As we're looking forward to summer, when we made the determination to put our summer courses online, we also made the decision at that point in time to just waive online fees for all students for summer. One, just in response to the fiscal stress that a lot of students are experiencing. So hoping to take a little bit off of that, that scale of stress. And also just, to acknowledge that maybe not all of the courses would have gone through that full development that students would be paying for by paying the online fees. Still a lot of development going in, a lot of support to put the best possible array of courses on for the summer, but we wanted to alleviate that stress and that expense from students for the summer. So does that address the question, do you think?
It does. Thank you so much, Beth. On to our third question. Are missed payment fees going to be waived due to the current economic status of the country?
I can address that one as well. The cashier is not assessing late fees for the remainder of the spring semester. We jumped right on that conversation, and so that definitely is in place. We're also not canceling any students for non-payment. Normally there was a cancellation, kind of a monthly cancellation for students for non-payment. And aside from the students that actually asked to be canceled, we did not cancel any students in April for non-payment because we just knew that there were a lot of things at play. Folks were losing their jobs and undergoing a lot of financial stress. Additionally, regularly, many of you may be aware that in order to be able to enroll in the next semester's courses, you have to have your balance paid down to $200 or below in order to have those cashier's holds raised or lifted. So we actually lifted that balance limit to $1,000 so that students who had a balance of $1,000 or less would be able to register in the next semester's classes. There are a lot of concerns and questions around the cashier and balances and that sort of thing. And we are definitely also looking at a lot of those on a case-by-case basis. There were questions, for instance, about international students who are having trouble getting wire transfers from other countries just because of the current situation and some stress on banking situations as well. So those same waiver of late fees applies to our international students as well. And again, I've had an opportunity to work individually with a number of students just on a case-by-case basis, trying to make sure that we're being as flexible and empathetic as we can. I would encourage all students to feel really comfortable with reaching out to the cashier's office. Sometimes folks avoid contacting the cashier because they feel like somehow that's going to put them in a situation where they'll be forced to do something. And the cashier's office is incredibly wonderful about working on payment plans or working on the best possible solution to a financial situation. They have folks that are actually trained specifically to work with students that are in dire fiscal straits. So I would definitely encourage students to reach out to the cashier's office as well.
Thanks so much, Beth.
Yeah.
Does anybody have anything to add? I feel like that answered a lot of questions. So will the university take action against people who are staying on on-campus apartments that aren't owned by the university, and they're not using their lease opt-outs, or they're not giving lease opt-outs? So the owned apartments, they're not giving lease opt-outs to students who are staying in them.
So that's a great question, and one that we've actually received in student affairs from a number of students. And it's important to note that the only external entity that actually provides housing on campus is Campus Living Villages, which is the parent company that owns the University Meadows. The University Meadows, when we as the university determined that we would be providing a 45% discount to our students who needed to vacate the residence halls early, I immediately spoke with the corporate office at the University Meadows and shared with them what the university was doing and implored them to take similar action of some type. I was told at the time, this was weeks ago, that they were actually going to be weighing their options and making a decision. I followed up numerous times, and then today, unfortunately, I learned that they have decided that they will not be providing any discounts to the residents at the University Meadows that choose to vacate early. We actually meet with them next week for a quarterly meeting, and we will be addressing this issue at that time. They're an external entity with a ground lease that goes for over the next decade. There's very little that the university can do to reprimand them for any decisions that we believe are inconsistent with our philosophy and belief, but we can definitely engage them in another conversation and see if we can help move that needle a bit. And those efforts will be underway next week when we meet.
Thanks, DeAndre. If you could just update anyone else maybe later through an email about what that meeting, what the decision is, that would
absolutely
be much appreciated.
Yep.
Our fifth question is, how will administrators ensure students from varying economic situations are not negatively impacted by the measures taken by the university to protect the campus from COVID-19 exposure?
I'm happy to start. I think a lot of this question will actually be addressed in later questions, but just to give you a quick acknowledgement that this is such a difficult time for students, and we want to make sure that the safety and success of our students are forefront in all the decisions that we're making. Nobody, we all just hated to have to close the campus, to have to move courses online. I mean, this was all so very difficult for us, and unfortunately, again, it was necessary due to the current situation, but constantly looking at opportunities to try to support students. At the very beginning, There were some things that we knew that we could do right away. For instance, looking at loaner laptops or Wi-Fi hotspots for students that didn't have access, trying to put together some great learning supports for students as they moved online, who perhaps either had already identified that online learning was a struggle for them or just simply had never experienced it before. Looking at building up options such as the Triton Pantry, putting together additional care referrals, moving everything that we possibly could to a virtual environment. So any sort of student support that you could ever imagine now being accessible in a virtual environment. Changing policies. I know you have some questions about the satisfactory, unsatisfactory policy, but also looking at making the drop policy more flexible. So when students drop a course after the 12th week, historically they have to provide documentation of exigent circumstance. We've removed that requirement because life is an exigent circumstance right now. We don't need to try to have folks coming up with documentation. So please know that this is absolutely on the forefront of all of our minds. We're just constantly listening, trying to listen to students and listening to each other to try to come up with the best possible strategies to support all of you.
And if I may add to that, actually was just part of a meeting today. So in the event that you're not aware, the university started an initiative, the Student Financial Wellness Initiative, earlier this year. And the goal of this, the long-term goal, is to really build supports around the entire campus to help our students make better financial decisions, be more informed, and just ensuring that we give students those tools to be money and to lower debt if at all possible. That's the long-term goal. That initiative has shifted its short-term focus to supporting students with financial concerns that they're experiencing in light of COVID-19. So what we're doing right now is we're working on consolidating information about the CARES Act and how that directly affects students and getting that information into the hands of students. So the extensions that have been provided for the immediate time for loan repayments, or the stimulus checks that will be provided to some students, but not all students. All of that we're trying to package together and weed through all of that legislation to get that information in the hands of students. We're also looking at how to support those students that would not receive a stimulus check. So are there corporations we can work with on micro loans for students? Working with external donors and corporations on gifts that they can give to the university that we can then in turn support students through our Triton Emergency Fund, et cetera. So in addition to what Beth shared, there's all these other initiatives that are underway, just really trying to look holistically at how we support students that are struggling in light of COVID-19.
Thanks.
Thank you so much. Beth, you already touched on this a little bit, but the next question is, what alternatives is the university offering to students who lack resources to complete the online courses?
I'm going to ask our director of the Center for Teaching and Learning to field that question.
Sure. So I'll expand a little bit about some of the things that Beth mentioned before. So the question has multiple layers really for the way that I think about the question. First is access to computers or internet, and Beth has shared with you that ITS made laptops. They pulled laptops out of classrooms to check them out to students. They purchased Wi-Fi hotspots for students who needed access to the internet. All of that immediately happened through, when students contacted advisors and their student success coaches, so that we could immediately connect students with hardware and access to the internet. We also sent from our Center for Teaching and Learning site, we put together a Keep Learning website where we listed also things like free or reduced pricing for internet through various commercial vendors, so that people could kind of see what opportunities were being made available through the COVID-19 sort of reaction nationally. And so if I understand that there are still computers available and hotspots available, so they can reach out to their advisors and student success coaches if folks still need that equipment. I also am thinking about it from a variety of other angles. So, with challenges about time, if students are losing jobs or their schedules have changed, we really have been working with faculty across the university to design flexible remote learning options for students so that they can leverage the capabilities of Canvas where students can log in at any time to keep on track with their course. This affords students the ability to find convenient times for them when it's possible for them to access computers and internet in order to stay on track and keep learning. We also very quickly recognized an equity challenge around proctored testing. And we worked with, as soon as our testing center had to close, we worked with faculty, deans, academic leaders to help faculty understand that although we offer a web-based proctoring option called ProctorU, which is really a nice, convenient thing for fully online students who choose that as a preference, being able to use ProctorU requires 3 key things, which is a webcam, a reliable and stable internet connection, and a secure, private, uninterrupted space in which to take the test. And we recognized that not all students would have all 3 of those magic things all at the same time. So when we learned that our testing center would be closed to minimize the spread of the virus, we immediately began working with faculty who originally had planned in-person proctored exams to help them understand that equity challenge. I think many of the faculty didn't realize what that web-based proctoring tool would require. And we also worked with deans and department chairs to help them understand that as well. And I'm really proud to say that our faculty immediately responded by either removing the proctoring requirement or designing an alternative assessment, such as maybe an assignment or a take-home exam. There are a few classes still using the web-based proctoring tool, but those were already online classes. So they were already used to that option. And then we also, our CTL offers a Canvas course for fully online students called Learning to Learn Online, an online Canvas overview. So as soon as we heard the announcement that we would shift all classes to fully online instruction, we enrolled the entire student body into that Canvas training course so that students would immediately see what it meant to be an online learner, learn to navigate Canvas, learn to use the technology and tools, but also learn some strategies about how to manage time, how to keep a calendar organized, how to scan your Canvas course to see what the deadlines are, how to use the calendaring tool, and so on, so that they could easily or more easily make that transition and kind of get organized and not panic about what it all meant and how to find their assignments. And lastly, we employ graduate students who serve as online mentors. And those are embedded in online classes, and they also serve all online students, which now is our entire student body, to help navigate with the context of online learning, not the content of courses. So they really provide a lot of resources on how to manage stress, stay connected to others in the class, and encouraging students to ask for help whenever they need it.
I'd like to add to that, in addition to that, our academic support services side, all of our academic coaches and our success coaches are also fully prepared to be able to assist students with navigating this whole new process that we're all in. And so they too are providing students with remote access, virtually academic coaching, phone calls if necessary, whatever it is that they're identifying as the need of students and the best mechanism for them to stay connected to them. They're offering that to them as well. So I just want to add that in, that for any student that is needing someone to just help them to continue to navigate all of these different factors that can also be barriers for them to be successful, to connect with an academic or success coach through multicultural student services or student enrichment and achievement.
Thanks so much. Jeremy, you want to go with the next question, please?
That was a very good answer. So I'm wondering, what is the distinction between a SU grade, so satisfied, unsatisfactory, and a pass-fail grade?
Sure. So here at UMSL, we actually don't have anything that we call pass-fail. Our version of that is the satisfactory, unsatisfactory grading basis option. And so that option has actually always been in place. A lot of students didn't know it existed. Many faculty didn't know it existed. And historically, students can only take 18 credit hours out of their total 120 needed to graduate on this satisfactory, unsatisfactory basis. there's been a lot of buzz around the country about pass-fail. You know, students are hearing that some universities are going all pass-fail. And so what we wanted to do was look at an opportunity to offer something that was very student-centric, informed by the, you know, the intent to do no harm, to make sure that if we were providing options for the satisfactory, unsatisfactory grading basis, that it would be to the best of the students' needs and not creating any unintended consequences. So what we've done is we've taken our policy, satisfactory, unsatisfactory, which normally just has a 4-week window at the beginning of the semester in terms of a student selecting that grading basis. We've extended it all the way till April the 30th. So students are able to take the opportunity to place any one or all of their courses on the SU grading basis, as long as it's appropriate for their program. And in order to ensure that students aren't maybe making a decision that might hurt them in some way, we've added advisors into that workflow of the request. So the students, we have put out flyers. We've, in fact, I appreciate Mackenzie was very instrumental in driving us to put together a more simplified flyer after we sent out a rather detailed PDF with a lot of language in it, to help students make that decision to see if it was the right direction for them to move. And so students can make that choice all the way up until April the 30th. There are programs for which it's not appropriate. Historically, we only offered it for gen ed courses and electives, but many majors across campus that don't have an accrediting body that controls them in the way that perhaps education and nursing might, have made the choice to allow students to take any of their major coursework on an SU basis as well, just for this semester. It's a spring 2020 only exception, but we wanted to try to lift a little bit of pressure. Students would receive an S for anything better than a C minus. And then anything below a C minus, they would receive the U. What relieves the pressure is that neither option, U or S, impacts the GPA. So even if you failed a course, if you were taking it on an SU basis, you wouldn't get credit for the course, but it also wouldn't hurt your GPA. So that's kind of the magic of the SU grading basis, and something that helps take pressure off for some students that are really, really struggling at this point in time. Interestingly enough, it's a highly attractive to folks that have a high GPA, that are just not able to work to their fullest potential this semester, and they want to maintain and protect that high GPA. If they earn a C minus or higher, that S grade will allow them to protect their GPA as well. So we wanted to try to have it be a student-driven option. Faculty cannot put an entire class, cannot impose that on an entire class. It's absolutely student-driven. Thanks
so much. You answered all of the confusing little minute detailed questions that we had further, so I really appreciate that. It makes things go a little more efficiently. So now on to our next topic. How will the campus closures affect summer/fall semester?
I'll start that one if it's okay.
Yeah.
So UMSL has announced, I'm sure you all know, that all summer classes will be offered online, and students won't have to pay any online fees, even if they were originally planning to take an online class, which we often have a lot of students who choose that. And that's really, and coming out with that announcement before even the other 3 system campuses has really given us some extra time to work with faculty to get those courses really at the level of quality and design, so that it's really meaningful and effective for the students. For example, we're working with a group of faculty focused on adapting lab courses for online delivery. And it's really important to UMSL and all of us that we don't impose any additional fees on students in terms of any hands-on kits that need to be mailed to them. We don't want students to have to pay for those kits, or any virtual lab software that we didn't already have in hand. Often those models are based on students paying those fees from the vendor. And so we are working to make sure that that does not happen, that UMSL absorbs those costs. UMSL will be covering those costs for students, and our instructional designers are working with faculty to make sure that the best practices and highly effective online learning happen for all of our classes this summer. We haven't yet made an announcement about fall, and I think we're all kind of waiting to hear what happens with fall. Was there a particular question embedded inside of the inside of your question that I'm not answering?
No, you answered it completely. They were just, I think, curious about what at this point are the plans for summer and fall. And I think that question was asked prior to UMSL coming out saying that all summer classes will be online. And obviously we just have to wait to see what happens with fall.
Yeah, we have a lot of faculty who are already enrolled in our professional development programs to help them learn those best practices and use all the resources of our professional e-learning staff. So UMSL really is, I'm proud of our team of instructional designers. We have experts in online learning here at UMSL who are national leaders in this. And our faculty are enrolling in all of those programs and really focused on making that a student-centered, excellent experience for them.
Just one quick note to add. So our chancellor also challenged all of our academic departments to look at additional courses that they might be able to add to the summer schedule that would help students make progress to graduation. And so those have been, are currently being added, a few at a time. So we looked at specific majors to say, advisors said, you know, we don't historically offer this in the summertime, but if it would be possible to put this course on in the summer, it would really help X, Y, or Z major. So if you've already looked at the summer and major plans, you might want to go back and take a look to see if there are any additional courses that might be attractive to you, or check with your advisor to see if there's anything that's been added in the last week.
Thank you. That's really good advice, Beth.
So I'm wondering, what are the options the university can use for accommodating students with visual impairments and auditory impairments?
Sure, I'll start that one too. And I think there are a variety of ways we can answer this. But really, even before COVID-19, UMSL has been well positioned to accommodate students in the online environment. Like I said, we really are national leaders in online learning. Our systems already support closed captioning for lecture recordings across all of our tools. So we have embedded automated tools. For example, if your instructor records a lecture in Panopto or Zoom, there already are closed captioning options where that's automated to make that available for students with hearing impairments. We also have, as I mentioned, e-learning professionals who are well trained in making learning materials accessible to students with hearing and visual impairments. So they've been leading trainings, and in fact, one of our instructional designers leads national training on this very topic. So UMSL really we chose to integrate a tool called You Do It inside of Canvas that enables faculty themselves to identify accessibility issues in their Canvas course content. So basically it scans the whole course, it generates a report, and it provides instruction to them about exactly how to fix anything that it finds. It's really empowering for faculty, and so we provided instructions to faculty about how to run You Do It and generate those reports. And in addition, Canvas really provides an easy approach to apply other accommodations to assignments or exams. So there's already a wonderful process in place by Disability Access Services that informs faculty what the accommodations of any particular student may need. For example, double time on an exam. And so Canvas really makes that easy for faculty to award that extra time for assignments. So, you know, we just made sure that everybody knew how to do that, but it's pretty easy. It's just right there on the exam settings.
I'd say in addition to that, I'm assuming the accommodations also apply to those with learning disabilities.
Sure. So faculty are not informed about what the particular situation is for a student. They just get the list of what the accommodations are. Okay. And so, yeah, so that list of what the accommodations are is what the faculty see.
All right. And so DAS, they're still up and running. We can still contact them. Okay, cool.
Yes.
I'm also wondering what happens if the grade can't be determined for the class. So
sure. Yeah, I can address that question. There are a lot of different situations around field study or clinical where that experience has been cut short. In many cases, those were 16-week experiences, and accrediting bodies have determined that by the time we had to move our experience online, the students had completed enough contact hours. And so it would be, considered, they would have considered to have met the learning outcomes for that experience, but not in all of them. And so we're really handling those on a case-by-case basis, working with the colleges and schools that have those kinds of courses. And we have, a variety of things that we can do. In talking, for instance, with the School of Optometry, there will be a few cases where students will have to perhaps complete a few extra hours in the fall, take a delayed grade in that course, and then have their grade posted at a later time. So we have a number of options in place for students to make that, make that possible. We know that there are students who are on the grad list for May, and so we want to make sure that they're our priority in terms of ensuring that they've completed all the work that they need to do. And again, program by program, course by course, case by case, that looks a little bit different. But we're working definitely with all the academic units to make sure that no students are losing any credit because of the closure of the campus.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right, our next question is, how can students access tutoring services now that the staff are working remotely?
Sure, I'll take a start at that one first. We're actually offering 3 different types of remote tutoring services now. We have Triton Online Tutoring, which is a direct response to COVID-19. Originally, we provided students with walk-in tutoring opportunities, and because of the changes that we have all had to make to being off campus now, we're now offering it online. And so you will hear the term, and students, I hope they will catch this. It's now called drop-in tutoring. And so that is a replacement of what was, again, formerly walk-in tutoring. We've expanded the hours for that. So it's 8 to 5 that we're offering Monday through Friday. We're offering from 8 until 11 p.m. on Sundays. And so we're asking students to visit the UTC website in order to determine that. And just as of last week, on April 18th, we will be launching weekend tutorial support as well, with a specific focus on math and writing. And that will be provided on Saturdays and Sundays. And so again, that is a direct response to understanding all of the different distractions that can occur Monday through Friday, especially for our adult students who have families, and providing an opportunity for them to be able to have that extra tutorial support that they need Monday through Friday, as well as on the weekends. We continue to offer net tutoring. We have expanded the amount of courses that is being provided in that. So that's another additional option for students. And then we're offering group sessions through Zoom. And so students have an opportunity to do that as well, working with their peers through groups. So again, we're keeping our ear to the ground on the different support systems that we know are best practices for students to utilize, especially in the area of tutorial support. And we're beginning to make a lot of those modifications. But we overhauled a lot of that as faculty was working very diligently in overhauling a lot of those things. And Keita and her team, we were making sure that we were implementing a lot of those important support systems to make sure that students were receiving the support they needed in classes as well.
Thanks so much. I also want to add, I am a chemistry and biology tutor for the UTC, and I just wanted to say that also peer-paired tutoring is still offered. We have just now moved to like a online platform, so you can still fill out the form and you can still request a personal peer-paired tutoring, and that's a little more like you're able to have more of an open schedule, and you and your peer-paired tutor are able to figure out a time that's best for you weekly, and you're allowed to change that weekly. So that's also something students can look into if they need it.
Yes, and that's through that Triton Online I mentioned. That's that drop-in session piece. She's a great tutor, by the way.
I didn't quite catch what you had said. What is it through?
Drop-in tutoring. It's called Triton Online Tutoring.
Got it. Thank you. So faculty and staff are able to raise flags in Starfish to notify the campus when students are struggling academically. Are students able to utilize Starfish to request assistance for themselves? And what does that process look like if it's there?
Jess, you want to start? And
Sure,
I
I'll take that. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so we definitely just added in the past year this what on some I think the Starfish product calls it Raise Your Hand, but we are calling it Get Connected and Get Help and some other kinds of descriptors for students that can sort of virtually raise their hand and say, hey, I need some help here. We started launching it with our academic coaches just as a sort of get connected. I feel like I need to connect with somebody on campus to help them make recommendations and referrals there. But we also added the get help option. So students can, if they're having trouble connecting with an academic resource or support of any kind, they can raise their hand and say, I need help. And that flag goes directly to the folks like the folks in UTC that know, exactly how to connect students with the right resource. Every day, actually, we're looking at what kind of flags should we add for this situation as we've gone into this COVID-19 world. So we are definitely evaluating. For instance, if a student doesn't log on to Canvas for X number of days, we want to trip a flag to make sure that somebody's checking in on them. So that, nobody falls through the cracks. We're trying to put a 360 support in around our students. So.
Just to add on to Beth, when she mentioned that Get Connected process goes to UCT, it also triggers directly to our MSS academic coaches and our student enrichment and achievement coaches. And it provides them an opportunity, again, to kind of filter what the student has raised a concern for. And as it's mentioned as the slogan, it's kind of picked up, it's getting them connected to either someone that we would have to refer them out to. That can be in the hands of academic support, connecting them with a faculty member, connecting them with someone in student affairs through with our social work-based services folks. It doesn't matter what it is, that whole process is in place to help them to get connected to one of those folks. I will tell you, with the initial launch that has already gone out, students have already picked up on self-raising that flag, and it has taken off. So as a team, we were talking about the number of self-raised flags that occurred just in the past couple of days with students. And so we're really excited that students certificates for themselves and raising those flags so that we're in place to be able to give them that support that they need. So we encourage you to continue to use that, because we're definitely going to make sure that we're getting you the support that you need overall to be able to just get connected to somebody that's out there.
Thank you. You also touched on this, but what are some other pathways if students are having difficulty transitioning to this online coursework and they need to reach out for assistance?
Well, we certainly have between CTL, you also have the folks that are in student academic support services. I would ask that they please visit that website. You definitely have the folks that are on Deandra's side in student affairs. But I think there's a number of avenues that we have set up as an entire university to kind of answer to COVID-19. Keita mentioned something that I think speaks volume, is that as a university, we're kind of leading the way. And I really do believe that we are leading the way, both on the faculty side, but also on that student success side. I've participated in a couple of webinars, and just listening to some of our colleagues nationally, I've been pretty excited to just know how far advanced we are against other institutions when it comes to making sure that we're on the ground and in the trenches and really creating those different mechanisms for student support. And so really, I think if they visit that COVID-19 page that's still out there, Peter or Beth, you can correct me, but I believe it's still there. Mm-hmm. I think it will really assist with getting our students supported in the best way possible, whether it is an academic issue that we need to get them connected with a faculty member directly, or if it is getting them connected to academic support or social services, that's the best site for them to go to right now.
And I'd like to add that earlier this week, our registrar, Teresa Coyce, sent out a wonderfully supportive email to all the students registered for the summer with a really great list of what those resources are to help students transition to online learning and be supported. And it's a lovely list of everything that we've already described and other answers to your questions today, but with direct links to those resources.
One of the best things about the COVID website, I have to say, students are always like, I get so much email, I can't find that message that you sent me. On the COVID website, we have archived all of the campus-wide messages that have gone out since the start of this entire shared experience. So if you're thinking, I think there was a message that came out from the chancellor about X, Y, or Z, you would be able to find it there as well. We're also sending out a lot of messages through the Canvas course site, that Learning to Learn Online Canvas course that every student is enrolled in. And those announcements, of course, are archived in that course site. So every student can go in and take a look at those announcements as well.
Those were great answers. So now, how can I meet with my academic advisor for assistance in building my summer and fall schedule?
I'm glad to address that question. All of our academic advising units have moved fully online. And so they are able to offer meetings in a variety of formats. So Zoom is certainly one of them, but also understanding that not all students are able to access their stable internet to get a Zoom meeting set up, with their, of course, setting up phone appointments as well. And then just communicating via email. In some cases, that's been the best way to assist students. So I'm sure everybody's aware of their the date on which they can begin to register for their fall classes. And that date would be in your MyView Student Center if you haven't, if you're not aware of that. But I would say, definitely contact your academic advising unit to set up an appointment to begin to prepare to register for fall if you haven't done so already. If at any point in time you're unsure about who your academic advisor is, there are two places where you can find that information. One, again, is in MyView in the Student Center, and also in MyConnect. And in MyConnect, you actually get your full support network listed. So not just your academic advisor, but also if you're working with an academic coach or with somebody from UTC, those folks are listed there as well in your support network. And and I always encourage students, if they're not sure, they can email me and I will connect them with their advisors. And my email address is on every message that's gone out through the Canvas site as well. So
I think that answered it very well. I'm wondering, is supplemental instruction still happening with this transition to online?
Yes. We offer a program called Supplemental Instruction. It's staffed by undergraduate SI leaders who help students in traditionally challenging courses such as calculus or chemistry. There are a number of courses that have embedded SI leaders in them who offer weekly additional class sessions to give students opportunities to practice, to answer questions, discuss things that's covered in their regular classes. So Jenna Alexander coordinates that program, and as soon as we heard that the in-person classes would be suspended and kind of pivoted to remote teaching, she immediately shifted that program to be online so that the students who need help learning that challenging course content and those concepts and needed that additional practice wouldn't miss even one session. So she pivoted that program right away.
Fantastic, thank you.
Thank you so much. Now, this is a question that we've received a lot, and honestly, if you can't answer it, it's totally understandable because we might not have the data as UMSL, and we obviously don't want anyone violating any HIPAA laws or personal privacy laws. But one of the questions that we do get frequently is, does UMSL have any confirmed student, staff, faculty cases of COVID-19?
So I can actually take this one as I serve on the university's Unified Community in response to the global pandemic that we're in right now. So the chancellor has informed campus leaders to share with their teams that any information regarding any reported cases or suspected cases of COVID-19 be reported to our campus health officer, Dr. Christopher Sullivan. So he's actually tracking that information on behalf of the campus. And so there are no known cases that directly affect the university. So and what I mean by that is saying that there are no individuals that we know about at this time that are living in our residence halls or that have been on campus since we've closed that are confirmed to have COVID-19. But in thinking about the fact that we have over 2,500 employees. We have over 14,000 students. Of course, there are cases that, just kind of thinking about the numbers in St. Louis County and St. Louis City, of course there are numbers, but we will alert the campus community if there is a case that directly impacts the campus community, kind of using that Clery standard, if you will. So is there an ongoing threat or concern to the campus community? And if so, then we will provide a timely notification.
Thank you so much. I
Absolutely.
appreciate the answer.
Mm-hmm.
Can I just add one note? We also want to make sure that if a faculty member should fall ill, that our students aren't left without communication. Because we know that sometimes that can happen rather quickly. So we are working with all of our academic units to make sure that there's a backup plan for every Canvas course site. And so just again, we want to be prepared to try to support our students to the best of our ability. So we have that plan in place as well. If you know, heaven forbid, one of our faculty members should become ill, that students wouldn't be left wondering what the heck happened. So that we're working on that as well.
That's a good bit of information. I appreciate that. Thank you. So I'm wondering, are there any resources for students who are returning to possibly a toxic household or an environment where they can't function at their best? Are there any resources for them now that they kind of have to be there?
Yeah, so I'll take this one, and then others please chime in if you have anything to add. So there are a number of resources that we would definitely want students to be aware of. And so first and foremost, counseling services is absolutely still open and operating. There's at least one counselor in the office every day, and then the rest of the counseling team are seeing students via telehealth or telecounseling. So they're seeing students remotely. So that's definitely an option. So students can call 516-5711. And they can do an intake with a counselor, and then we'll figure out the best way to see and support that student. Also, Community Psychological Service, which is a more external facing counseling support that's on our campus. They have reached out, and they are actually starting a COVID group. So a COVID support group for individuals struggling with the effects of COVID-19. So Student Affairs has actually provided them with some funding to help subsidize the cost for students. So students can participate in a session group therapy focused support solely focused on the effects of COVID-19 for only $20. So $20 for 5 sessions with support from Student Affairs. Also, there are 2 other resources, Sanvello, which is a mental health app that the university system invested in back in the fall semester, and it launched officially this spring semester. That is available to students. You just go into the Sanvello app, either on an Android phone or iPhone, and you just simply type in Sanvello, put in your university email address, and then you'll have access to that mental health app. And that actually provides you with connection to 24/7 community support. So there's this online community that you can connect with other people that are going through the same, experiencing the same concerns. If anyone needs support after hours, they can just call 516-5711. That's the number to counseling services. That will then take you to Protocol, which is an organization that we contract with to provide 24/7 counseling or after hours emergency counseling for students. And so there's no fee for that. You can call and talk to a counselor after hours, and they will provide you with that support and then connect you back to counseling services.
All right.
In addition, on our Keep Learning website for students, we have a page there called Wellbeing Resources. I'll add that link here to the chat so you can include that into the notes to share out with students, but it includes, of course, links to our great services that DeAndre just listed for you, but it also includes things in the community, resources like Start Here St. Louis, that provides links to dozens of agencies, shelters, employment resources, food pantries, cooling centers if someone lives in a house without air conditioning, things like that. National Suicide Prevention Hotline, all of those kinds of resources that I think we can lean on as well as the rest of our community. So I'll post that link here.
That's fantastic. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. I just want to thank all of you for attending this session and working, I'm sure, endless hours trying to make sure that the students are safe and continuing their education and being so transparent with the students. We really appreciate that. That's something that I think is pretty unique to the UMSL administrators. So we appreciate that. And we appreciate your due diligence to making sure that everyone is taken care of on the campus, whether it be staff, faculty, or even students. I think that concludes all the questions we have for today. I just want to thank you again for all being here, and I hope you guys stay safe and healthy and just happy, you know? Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Shelby, and thanks to all of you. We really need your feedback and your input to help us know how to move forward. So it's so valuable to have any kind of touches from our students really inform everything that we do. So please know that we wake up every morning with you in our hearts and our minds, and everything that we do really is to ensure that you're all making great progress to completing your degrees.